place where interesting people you may know tell you things you didn't. So grab a chair and your favorite vice and get comfortable. There are no rules in the Lair, but there is Laura Babcock. You know her from TV, and she is not into media monogamy. Let's find out who else is in the Lair.
So you found the Lair cast civilized. Do tell. Explain to our audience what's civilized, because people don't, they hear us, but they don't see us.
My producer at Cable 14 just handed me some wine, so that's it's kind of a reversal. Instead of him yelling in my ear.
So it's civilized because we deconstruct the hierarchical power structures. I got it. So Doug, you've been sitting here tonight, and I've kept you for last because I know that you're a commentator and an analyst. So where's your head at now?
Proud to have finally met a bunch of the people. Tom Cooper and I go way back. I've known about Tom and his activism, his passion for this community for a long time. But I think in the greater context, because I go way back in time with radio when the media forums were very structured and there was not this kind of openness and storytelling. Yeah. Those kinds of stories might be muttered about in a press room or a media room, but they were never told.
So Doug, just let me stop you there for a second, because our producer, whose idea it was, you know, we got this space to be part of downtown Hamilton, and we had some cool parties, and we had some interesting conversations with some people in town who were influential. And Rob, who's a genius, said, you know, we should be taping this. There is a lack of real, honest, uninhibited conversation in a city this interesting and this big and this powerful and this important. So for you to say that the conversations that you've heard tonight, your first time in the Lair, are something that...
And can I come back because it is civilized?
Yeah, no, you come back because you want the pizza and the free booze. No, that's what you mean by civilized, which is free food and booze.
I have to be honest.
You know, anyone who, and Jim will tell you, the only way to get in our studio audience is to have been a guest. So it's a bit of a little alumni club we've got going. But it was Rob's intent was, because he's worked in the media for 20 years at CBC and Cable 14, and his intent, and don't let me speak for you, speak, but his intent was, you know, our popular civic discourse.
There's an appetite.
Yeah, there's an appetite.
They're the 9th biggest city in the world, in Canada. There is no way there isn't a market for people who want to hear more than just the Spectator and 900 CHML. There's got to be people out there saying someone else has got to have a point of view. Right. And that's all it was.
Well, and because the history of the city is the media, when it comes to news coverage, is dried up. It is only one radio station with news. It is only one television station that many people complain about the content. Beginning at 6 o'clock. I'm still not happy with CH's coverage of local news.
You wrote like a 500-word rage on my Facebook page about this.
Was it 500 words? I thought I went longer. That's a précis for me.
Yeah.
Mike.
You were here, Doug, because of that Facebook posting. Because Rob and I looked at it and said, holy, there is a Hamiltonian who has something to say. And it wasn't your critique of the media, it was your analysis of where it was and where it is.
We used to have a newsroom in the 90s at CKOC and K-Light. Right. There is no newsroom at CKOC, K-Light, and 820 CHAM. Oh, I'm sorry. They create the news in St. Catharines and digitally send it to a computer, which anonymously spits it out between commercials. This is not news coverage, and it irks me. And only one radio station provides news coverage. And I'm certainly not here to complain about CHML. I think they're doing as best a job they can. And CH, with their parameters and their money, are doing the best job they can. And then there's the one horse town newspaper. Except I come back to my town and I find out about everything that's now available on the internet. I can go and look at the Hamiltonian. I can go and look at a number of sources. And the fact that you folks are sitting here doing this and having conversations with people who are dissidents or politicians or small entrepreneurs like yourself, the fact that you're soliciting this kind of stuff is exciting to me. And I'm only back in town. And it's not like I went away.
Where were you?
I was in Toronto for 16 years.
Right.
So I was creating contacts in Toronto and forgetting my contacts in Hamilton.
Right.
I'm a former news director here. I used to have
remember, yeah.
contacts.
Right.
Worked at cable for a long time
Well,
doing a
somebody,
show.
I forget who on
was
our
there in the beginning of the Opinionators.
No, I remember, and I remember somebody on our production team. I don't, it might have been you, Rob, but somebody's like, Doug Farraway's coming in. Like, you know, they remembered those days of Doug Farraway. You're a big name in town in the media.
And you know, I never look at it that way, but it's always nice to hear.
Oh, yeah.
But we would do a talk show on a Friday evening at Cable 14 that discussed everything, and we didn't hold back.
So
I wrote in the Mountain News. I didn't hold back.
Right. Are you going to
But
run? Are you going to run?
No, I'm
Come
not
on,
going
I've
to
heard
run.
rumors.
No, I'm not going to run.
You're touching the leather. He's
I'm
getting
not
into
gonna
it.
run.
His bum feels good.
Okay, there's a little piece of me that would like to revisit the political process. I tried it once in the mid-90s.
All right, he's running. That's clearly an invitation.
There's a little piece
you're
of me.
running in 2014, but until then,
I'm
what did
also
you
of
hear?
an age that, and
Oh,
with
blah,
with
blah.
my wife about to be retired in a couple of years,
perfect time
it's a
to.
very big decision, though, to run for city politics
It's the
or
perfect
any
time.
other level.
It's the perfect time.
It's a good time if you want to do it, or do you have other priorities?
So, Doug, the fact that you raised it
there's
without me asking
there's a
you.
little bit of well, you did raise. Am I going to run?
No, because you brought it up. I had no agenda to ask you about your. Now I've heard rumors that you're going to run, and I've heard people saying you should run, but you brought it up, which tells me that it's manifest destiny. Just get over it. You're going to run. He's going to run. Am I wrong?
I've had people over the years call me, and it's like, no, you know what? I should have learned my lesson the first time totally. But there's a little bit, once you knock on doors, and Laura, once you can go out and sway people to your viewpoint,
Nice, eh?
there's something about ego there.
Oh, you
But-
think? You're
yeah,
talking to me,
yeah.
for God's sakes.
And when you're on the radio and you're doing a talk show, there's something about ego
Of
there.
course. I said, you heard me say earlier tonight, you can't be in a position of being on air, whether it's radio or TV or anything, without believing
Yes.
on some level that your opinion carries more sway.
Because how presumptuous would we be if we...
But you wouldn't do it otherwise. If I thought that, you know what, other people are great at other things. There are lots of people who do lots of things better than me, but, you know, summarizing, articulating, opining on a particular issue that comes up is something I'm pretty good at.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that or I wouldn't bother to be on TV every week. And you're the same way. So false modesty doesn't play with me, Doug, because I think it's nonsense. You want to run for office, you're going to run for office, but you mentioned to me that a couple of councillors came up to you.
Well, we sat there and just chatted. The chambers had been darkened. We chatted about all...
Listen, the chambers had been
yes.
dark.
And if I tell you which
He's an
councillors...
old radio guy. Listen to this. The chambers
Yeah.
had been darkened.
Yeah. Were they female or male councillors, Doug? Well, I can't divulge that information.
You know, and no, I'm not even going to go there. Continue. I can see you getting visibly consumed by this because, and I'm empathetic to how you feel.
Here's the good news. That there are 3, 4, 5 leaders on council,
Right.
from Whitehead to Clark to Powers to Chad.
Yep. to
There are
Ferguson.
leaders
Yeah.
who meet and caucus. When some of this stuff was breaking, they immediately had caucuses in
There's
one
a
of the
shadow
councilor's
caucus, yeah,
office,
for sure.
and they then figure out what the strategy is going to be that
Right.
day. There are leaders who are not going to, and I say this with passion, let this train go off the tracks, because this train is going straight ahead. When I sit in ECDEV and I listen to the numbers of building permits and
Right,
the
it's
projections for next year, or even this
And our
year,
drop in unemployment rate. It's amazing stuff.
we could hit $900 million in building
it's
permits.
amazing.
And when I drive around the city, again, doing a little bit of research so I know what to
Yeah.
ask Brenda Johnson or I know what
Yeah.
to ask Sam Marula coming up, and I'm looking at Walmart building permits on the East Mountain. I'm looking at them at Barton and Ottawa Street. I'm looking at a city that's on the move despite what the rest of the country
Agreed.
thinks of us. I look at a port that's on fire with agribusiness now at $1.4
But does the rest
billion.
of the country think this, or is
No,
this our
of
own
course not.
self-flagellation?
No,
our
I
own
just,
self-
I just, worked in Toronto for 16 years defending Hamilton to
No,
the
no,
point
trust
where I
me.
had people
But
emailing me saying, "Shut up
But-
about
but
Hamilton. It's a
Toronto's-
cesspool."
Okay, and I've been there, done that.
Sure.
And even on the Corn Show, I remember every Toronto guest would beat the crap out of me. But that's Toronto. That's not the rest of the country. I've lived in other parts of the country, and I don't know that that is an accurate statement that the rest of the country thinks ill of Hamilton. The fact that we're Toronto's nemesis, they probably think well of Hamilton.
They
I'm
think
just
of
saying.
us as steel, pollution, and tie cats.
Okay.
I think that's all they think of
But
us.
2 of the 3 are not bad. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. As
Yeah,
Meatloaf
still
would
creates
say.
pollution. Here we go.
I'm just saying. So I'm not trying to
Yeah.
not trying to nitpick with you, Doug. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't know that I think the rest of the country thought we were idiotic about Pan Am, but I don't know that they think that generally speaking Hamilton is a lost cause. We're up at the top of every list that's come out in the last 3 years in terms of ECDEV and standard of living. We've got a lot going on. There's tremendous momentum. I had a debate for 2 hours with Boris Brott at the Hamilton Club on Thursday night, just out of the blue. And
Did you have microphones?
Yeah, he's coming to the Lair.
Perfect.
Oh, trust me. After 2 hours, I debate anybody. It's like, okay, next stop is the Lair chair, right? And he will. I think he's in Venice right now, performing La Boheme or something. But he and I got in this big argument about Hamilton, and I said there is a tremendous amount of momentum, and he goes, I want to see it. And I said, well, talk to people under 40 because they're not going to accept their parents' version of defeat. So all I'm saying to you is that I think that this kind of situation reinforces that Hamilton has a dysfunctional political culture, but I don't think that it writes us off as a city. I think that there's a more intelligent culture coming up in Canada that sees this for what it is, which is a whole lot of drama and not detracting from the substance of the city. Or maybe I'm Pollyannic.
Well, what we don't need is an extra little something to pile on to the current image that's out there. Not with everybody. We're a heck of a city, and I'm not apologetic because I sat in Toronto for 16 years defending it,
Right.
and I will always defend it.
Right.
And this city, and I've written about and talked about the lows. I've been there.
Yeah.
I walked King Street and did it from Ferguson to James and talked about Johnny
bodyguard
Paychecks,
or-
$1 stores,
Right.
Johnny Paychecks at, in the year 2000,
Right.
when our downtown was an absolute mess. Well, it's not anymore.
Right.
It isn't. We have turned the corner. We're on our way. And when I look at the massive developments that are going on in the smaller communities, and the infill in the older city, and the infill on the mountain in lots and just little areas that had been vacant 20, 30, all my life, and now they're being built. People want to come to Hamilton.
Do you know, when you drive, as I do often on the 407, when you drive down over that hill, coming, because I'm in Toronto 3 days a week, and I take the 407 because time is money, and you come over that hill, you see cranes.
Yes.
Like, because of what's
Just
happening
when
on...
you get to Highway 5 and you can see the
yeah,
panorama.
you can see the cranes across the top of the mountain, and I understand the site that they're on, but cranes.
Cranes in Hamilton.
Cranes in Hamilton, hey?
We haven't seen cranes in Hamilton since the 70s. When was the last time we had a crane downtown?
Before I lived here.
I think there's one killed at the waterfront. Oh, no, not that kind of crane? Oh.
But there is a proliferation of the cranes on the waterfront.
So Doug, let me ask you this question, okay? Because I'm taken aback by your passion for Hamilton. I don't know you very well. I mean, we sat in a couple of green rooms during whatever election shows or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly.
But the passion that you have for Hamilton, I mean, what is it that brought you back to town? Was it all of that?
Oh, termination?
Well,
To be honest, termination?
That is a byproduct of the media business.
But you know what? And without getting too personal, but it
Get
was
too personal, it's
no,
hilarious.
it was the right
It's
time.
finding out
It
what
was.
you know about interesting
I've done radio for 36 years, and I've
Right.
dabbled with cable and done a little bit of writing. But my main thing has been 36 years in radio. There was a point in time where it's going to come to an end, and it came to an end. Okay, so be
Did you decide
it.
to run for mayor of Hamilton?
No,
I'm being facetious.
no, there were no, not for mayor. I wouldn't be that presumptuous.
He's starting with council. We've already determined that yet.
Yeah.
That's how Bertina did it, and he was
How many
also a
months?
broadcaster.
How many months away is that? When do I start planning?
Oh, there you go, slam. You have a possible patron sitting right here. Oh, look, okay.
I'll be
so
in the store on
there's
Saturday.
a political deal going on right now.
Yeah. And again, sitting there watching
That's
these
what
folks
everyone
now for
says
5
running
months.
Says. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But Laura, I would say that we have a lot of very smart, compassionate, dedicated people on that current council.
Yeah,
There are some stars there.
I agree.
And, and they're
It feels good to
stars.
say that, doesn't it?
They're stars in their neighborhood. Judy Partridge is a hardworking person
is.
in Waterdown and Flamborough. I have a lot of respect and time for Rob Pasuta, who hardly ever
Nice.
speaks, But when he speaks,
Yeah.
people listen.
Stillwater's
And I
run
have
deep.
a
Yeah.
lot of respect for Maria and Brenda Johnson and
for
going
Lord
around that
Ferguson,
table.
he knows his business.
And I said to Chad
Yeah.
Collins, you know, when you came on as a young puppy,
Yeah.
like, what was that all about? And yet,
It seemed like
he
it was a
can take
dynasty
you
for him.
back to a meeting 6 years ago and give you the exact details of how that meeting went and what the vote was.
Do you know what with Chad is that, you know, he came in on political legacy, and we've
Sure.
made some cracks at him in Lair, I'm not going to lie. But he's solid, and he's serious,
And he's a leader.
and he is a leader. Those two
Chad
don't.
is one of the great compromisers
He
on
is.
council.
Right, right.
And when it's a rural-urban split issue where they're afraid of, you know, regurgitating old passions about amalgamation,
Right.
you will see Chad Collins and Russ Powers. Those are the people that you know,
Yeah.
pull the vote together and find a way. Even
So-
on garbage,
so when
they're
he-
the
so
two
when-
who found the
and-
way to
and-
get
and
to the
to-
compromise.
You're right, and to me, Chad is not the kind of guy who jumps on a bandwagon issue because he's got too much political equity he's protecting, a provincial jump, whatever. So for Chad to back this means that they have the votes, the thing's a done deal, it's a serious measure, and they're at their wits' ends, as Sam said earlier.
Is his political jump starting at Confederation Park?
I'm sorry?
I said, will Chad's political jump launch from Confederation Park?
That's one of his pet projects, for sure.
Yeah, it is one of his pets.
But, you know, Doug, for you, what makes you so riled up about Hamilton? Like,
Wow.
what makes you, because you got, and
I'm
you
a
know,
Henderson baby.
but I just have to say
My
this.
kids
though.
are Henderson babies.
Well, but I have to say this. Like, we decided to make this a podcast, and everyone's like, well, surely you have a video camera running. No, it's a podcast because when there's no TV cameras, people can relax. But the only deficit to that proposition is the fact that when people are visually engaged, we lose it, right?
Yeah.
What is it that makes you so passionate about Hamilton? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a great community. It's my home.
Yeah.
It's where I hope my kids, and they've gone off to various cities to get their education. I hope it's where my children grow up and my grandchildren. Hurry up, kids! I'm getting old. Jeez, need somebody to chase around the
therefore
house.
it must come to be.
It must come to be. No, I'm passionate about my hometown, especially when other people are taking shots at my hometown. And I'm not proud that we were the steel makers of Canada. Are you kidding me? Our legacy is outstanding. The inventions,
Well,
the
everyone who drives
people
a car
who worked
should
here.
shut up, is
You
what
know,
I'm
the Studebakers and everything that is gone, the Procter and Gambles, but we were the industrial heartland of this country. We made the bullets, we made the armor plate, we sent off young men to war. Hamilton is not just, you know, an armpit at the end of the lake. We're not.
Oh my God!
We have
that's
something.
The clip for his Laircast from on the
Yeah,
show.
there you
Did
go.
hear that? That was the thing of poetic beauty. Do you know, let me-
Buffalo's an armpit at the end of their lake.
But let me just throw two quick little stories at you. I remember one time I was in the CN Tower for some kind of promotional event, and we were going up the tower, and I made a comment about, again, the same sort of thing. Oh, well, you know, if people from Hamilton understood what the opportunity was for this event or whatever, and the comment was, why would we want someone from Hamilton to be a part of this? And I wasn't a fierce Hamiltonian until then, but that irrational disregard for everything the city has to offer, and I'm not talking about some kind of hometown pride. I'm talking about actual, tangible benefits, be they economic or topographical or location-based or whatever.
And that's why the Argonauts represent those comments from those people, and that's why the Ticats represent hardworking Hamilton. We've
That's-
always loved defense, right?
Right,
and
right.
brutality and physicality on our
Right.
team versus finesse and the offense,
Right.
because that's who we are. And we should not be embarrassed about who we are,
But I don't-
because we
but I don't wanna
in
say-
Confederation have done as much as anybody else.
Doug, I
and
don't-
God bless Halifax, and God bless Vancouver, and all the other great cities.
Okay.
But don't look down on us.
No,
Just because we have
clearly we were
smokestacks.
the engine of the country for years.
Sure.
And my dad came to Hamilton in the 1950s. He was working here, and he said when James Mansfield, I think it was, arrived in Canada, she drove her Cadillac down James first before Toronto. I mean, there was a time when Hamilton was, if not better, at the same level. And I think those stories are very cool. But for me, I don't want to be in a perpetual defensive position.
Sure.
I don't think we need to be in a defensive position. You know, like I'm not saying we're Toronto.
Because we are on the move.
But that's what I'm
because we
saying.
have Torontonians coming to Hamilton. A,
For
it's
sure.
affordable, but B, they get here and go, I've got opportunity.
Right. But
And
I
they're
didn't-
finding opportunity on James Street North, and
For
they're finding
sure. Or in
opportunity
this
on Locke
building.
Street and Ottawa
You know,
Street
Councillor
North.
Marula walked into this
Yeah.
building and he's like, tell me about this building. And I said, it's full of creative industry. It's a killer place to be. And he couldn't believe it. But I grew up in Montreal. So to me, the idea that it's Toronto or nothing is ridiculous. Because in Montreal, we made fun of Toronto my entire childhood, right? So the fact that Hamilton positions itself in a negative to Toronto seems ridiculous to me. All I'm saying is that it's a great city. And you, Doug Farraway, I've known you peripherally for years. Your passion impresses me. The fact that you're back in town excites me. And, you know, I'll be interested to talk to you off the record, off the Lair cast. But you've got great insight into council, and we'll have you back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. What a fun conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Chats in the Lair is a Power Group production. Visit us at powergroup.ca or laircast.com, or check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.